non-stop from the UK to Australia has long been a dream, not only for passengers but also for airlines. The time-saving, reduced crew costs and less fuel makes it the preferred choice over a stop halfway in Asia. It's such a dream that Australia's national airline Qantas created Project Sunrise, their goal being a non-stop commercial flight from London to Sydney. They've even ordered 12 new, specially fitted Airbus A350-1000s to complete the trips. The new jets will only seat 238 passengers, even though Airbus says the same plane could comfortably fit anywhere between 350 to 410 people. First class suites will have a separate bed and recliner chair, and economy passengers will also get roomier seats and even a well-being zone designed for movement, stretching and hydration. Qantas have managed to go as far as London to Perth direct on commercial routes, but that next step isn't too far away. Chairman and now CEO Alan Joyce has said that the longer route could be active by the end of 2025. Research flights have already been completed. The trial London to Sydney route of over 11,000 miles took 19 hours and 19 minutes back in 2019. 52 people were aboard the Boeing 787 Dreamliner and were treated to 2 sunrises, one over each wing, as the plane tracked its way across the globe. But what if I told you that this flight wasn't the first time Qantas had flown direct between London and Sydney? Maybe you're thinking a Boeing 787 or Airbus A350 with their highly advanced technology had already completed the route. Well, I can tell you, you're wrong. I'm Joel from Alpha Zulu Aviation, and today I'm going to tell you the story of a Boeing 747-400 that made the trip back in 1989, breaking the world record for the world's longest flight. Keen-eyed observers at London's Heathrow Airport on the morning of August 16, 1989, would have noticed something unusual about the Boeing 747-400 in Qantas colours that was heading for runway 28 right. For one thing, the aircraft, which carried the name City of Canberra, registration VHOJA, was being towed rather than taxiing there under its own engines. At the hold short position, just before the runway, its tanks were topped up until fuel was actually dribbling from the vents on the ends of each wing onto the taxiway. Must have been before health and safety. What wouldn't have been apparent to the casual observer was that this was a special high-density jet fuel created specifically for this flight by Shell Germany. On board the aircraft were yet more signs this was not a normal flight. In the main cabin were just 2 cabin crew and just 16 passengers, including senior Qantas managers, media and engineers from Rolls-Royce and Boeing. Although the aircraft interior was how you'd expect it, there was no galley equipment and only the forward doors were fitted with life rafts. Another tell that this was not a standard flight were the pilots on board. Under the command of Captain David Massey Green, all 4 of the flight crew were Qantas management pilots. 3 of the 4 were senior Czech captains, which is like having Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi and Pele all in the starting lineup. The reason for this anything but standard flight was revealed in a comment on the flight plan, with the words, "record-breaking attempt." The flight plan also contained the crucial information that no stops were planned. The plan was to fly the aircraft non-stop from London to Sydney, the first commercial aircraft ever to attempt a journey of this length, more than 17,000 kilometres. At the time, the record for the world's longest non-stop commercial flight stood at 16,430 kilometres, covered in 17 hours 22 minutes by a Boeing 747 SP. The SP was the stubby, chubby mini version of the 747, developed for airlines that wanted a longer-legged aircraft that could operate from shorter runways but retain a decent payload. Equipped with Rolls-Royce Derby's RB211 524G engines, the Qantas 747's range was around 14,800 kilometres, well short of the 17,000 kilometre distance between London and Sydney. Only by reducing the weight of the aircraft, topping up to overflow with a specially doctored fuel and flying an optimal route to take advantage of favourable winds, would Qantas avoid the possibility of having their aircraft forced to land somewhere well short of Sydney. When the fuel tankers uncoupled from VH-OJA as it stood just short of the runway at Heathrow on August 16, 1989, the aircraft was carrying 183.5 tonnes of fuel, which more than doubled its total weight. Just after 8:30 a.m. local time, with checklist completed and the engines warmed up, Captain Ray Heiniger in the co-pilot's seat called the control tower to request clearance for takeoff. The air traffic controller responded in the affirmative and signed off with the words, "Good luck and don't forget to write." The flight was textbook. Atmospheric conditions were better than expected, allowing City of Canberra to use less fuel than anticipated. But then, somewhere over the Indian Ocean, came the news that the weather in Sydney, set fair when the flight departed, had turned foul. The city was shrouded with thunderstorms and low cloud. The wind was gusting to 40 knots and visibility down to just 3 kilometres. Flight control in Sydney was advising a 30-minute holding requirement, and for that, City of Canberra was out of fuel. There were options. The weather over Melbourne and Adelaide was fine. The crunch point was Cowra. Once the aircraft was east of Cowra, there wasn't enough fuel remaining to divert to either Adelaide or Melbourne. It was Sydney or bust. Over Pymble, the autopilot was disabled, and the pilots took control for the final approach. Just before touchdown, a warning chime and an indicator screen flashed the message, "Fuel quantity low," indicating that less than 900 kilograms remained in the tanks. But even with the weather, it was enough. At 2:20 p.m. Sydney time, Victor Hotel Oscar Juliet Alpha returned to Earth 20 hours and 9 minutes after its wheels left Heathrow. The one-off flight was a success. Everyone on board and on the ground applauded, more so for the 747 itself than the pilots. This bold venture probed the limits of long-distance flights and was a great leap forward, signalling the true start of Qantas's goal of a direct commercial route between Sydney and London. So, that's the story of the longest ever Boeing 747 flight, and still one of the longest flights ever recorded. One day, we'll all be able to climb aboard and experience the crossing of the globe in a single flight. And, if it's on Qantas, sounds like we'll be comfortable doing it too. The plane used in that 20-hour crossing can now be seen at the Historical Aircraft Restoration Society at Wollongong Airport, just an hour's drive from Sydney. I've been Joel from Alpha Zulu Aviation. Thanks so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe if you found this video useful or interesting, and comment a topic you want us to look at next. Safe flights.